Live Curious, 내셔널 지오그래픽 채널.
She may look like just another cruise ship, but there's nothing ordinary about her. Her design revolutionizes shipbuilding. Ship and crew endure some tough beatings. $1 billion Lego. She is a world record cruise ship.
호기심에는 연령 제한이 없습니다. Live Curious, 내셔널 지오그래픽 채널.
Building the world's largest cruise ship, only the best steel plates pass the test. Flaws in the steel or construction would jeopardize the thousands of people that will sail with the ship. Not even the slightest mistake can be made in the over 2,400 kilometers of welding joints holding all the building blocks together. To build a ship, the yard must create and master a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle. Once the assembly starts, it marks the new phase in a process that started many years earlier. As the head of Royal Caribbean Cruises, Richard Fain directed the task ahead.
We never set out to build the biggest ship in the world at any one of these stages. We looked at bigger, we also looked at smaller. And what we said was, for what we wanted to accomplish, we could offer something new and different. And we looked at a whole series of alternatives, but we came up with some ideas of things that could only be done on a bigger ship.
The end result moves the boundaries in shipbuilding.
You know, the bridge on the Oasis of the Seas is without question one of the most sophisticated bridges on any ship in the world of any type.
And Captain Bill Wright commands from one of the widest bridges ever built.
Despite her size, we can control her. This little joystick right here is something that I can actually use to maneuver the ship.
In charge of the world's largest cruise ship, Captain Bill and his officers are tested.
There's a lot to get used to in being able to comfortably and confidently navigate and maneuver a ship like the Oasis of the Seas. So there's a pretty steep learning curve.
Harry Kulovara's responsibilities as head of new building for Royal Caribbean force him to push the boundaries in shipbuilding.
10, 15 years ago, I had first time some thoughts about a vessel which could be about this size and where we could really utilize the open atrium concept and build a vessel all this time. It's a live stream coming true.
It will be up to a group of architects in the USA, UK, and Sweden to put the ideas to paper. And they have to work very closely with the shipyard in Finland to make sure ideas can be turned from a vision into reality. Kelly Gonzalez takes the lead in the project, hoping the architects will create a masterpiece.
Our first approach to all of the architects and designers that we wanted involved with this project, and we came to them and we said, this is the type of ship we want to build, and these are the things we want it to encompass. Their first reaction was, wow. So at the end of it all, I have no doubt that our guests are going to react to this in the same way, in the same manner. I think it has continued to amaze us at every step and every turn that we've taken in the development of this particular project.
From time to time, all the architects come together to present their ideas. Kevin Johnson and Kate Lockey arrived from London to the headquarters in Miami.
This is all the work effort behind the scenes. This is everybody kind of coming to consensus on the various issues and building up to the finale of the executive steering committee meetings and putting all the hard work and effort into getting to where it is we want to be. The process is very intense.
If you take that shape around like this,
We're working with multiple issues, we're working with a variety of people, and we're working with competing interests, so it makes for a very overall intense process.
At this stage, very few people outside this room know about the plans. Meeting in Finland, the group is presented with a carousel, a never-before-seen feature on a ship. Discussions flare.
You're not actually going to have a massive view along the boardwalk anyway.
Is there a clear enough pathway so that it's convenient if all you want to do is get from here to there? Nobody is receptive to criticism, but they all recognize, all of us recognize, that by working together and by arguing, I would say arguing rather than criticizing, we come up with a better product.
The other important player is the shipyard. They too are involved in turning visions into steel and structure. But there is a clear distinction between the customer, the cruise line, and the supplier, the shipyard. The yard's manager, Tom Diegerman, knows what he wants.
As simple as possible.
At least you're consistent.
Yeah, it's so that there is an architect schedule which is very, very precise, and it defines when certain decisions have to be made. And as you saw right in there, maybe they're never now asking for changes that is clearly too late according to this schedule. And those, of course, then when those appear, then we have to raise the red flag, as I did. If we have to change, then we have to redesign all these things. That takes time and it takes money.
What they finally set out to build is a city at sea, carrying almost 6,300 guests and a crew of almost 2,200. Until the ship gets its name, many years down the road, the unique creation will fittingly be codenamed Genesis. The STX shipyard in Turku, Finland, will use 8,000 man-years to complete the ship, and more than 3,200 people will at any given time be involved in the process. The construction is based on merging grand blocks. A total of 181 grand blocks are produced. Four decks high, these blocks make up the 8 decks with staterooms. Further aft, blocks start to outline the extraordinary design of dedicated neighborhoods, like the boardwalk and the ship's open aqua theater. While building goes on, the design of upper decks is far from ready. At their next meeting, Kevin Johnson presents the design of the ship's most spectacular neighborhood, the Central Park.
And the large lawn area as it runs down, complete with all of its shrubbery and its planting.
And yet we have these two, what apparently huge areas on the mounds, on the hills, that just aren't exciting to me. I just don't get it. I mean, there's nothing there. Why should I go up that hill? To get the view, I don't think that's particularly spectacular. It seems like maybe we just need something. It looks very naked.
I think part of the reason that you have that feeling is because this is now such a dominant part of what is grass.
But if there was a nice alcove there with the bushes and a little nice wooden bench I could sit in with maybe some trickling water where I could read my book, I just don't think people are going to throw out the tablecloth and lie on the grass and eat a sandwich. I don't think that's going to happen.
Visiting a local company near the shipyard, Captain Bill gets a chance to influence the design of his future workspace, the bridge.
There's plenty of keyboards, that's for sure, but not a lot of space to write.
So far they are located here.
What we're really trying to do now is using the advanced 3D technology that allows us actually to experience the bridge. One of the concerns in terms of maneuvering is that because of the placement of the lifeboats on Genesis, when you're standing on the bridge wing, you actually cannot see the side of the ship. If you had a very large vessel, let's say a private yacht somewhere in the vicinity of 150 feet, it could actually be completely hidden by the flare of the bow. So you could have that large of a vessel literally right under your nose, And so now, for the first time, we're actually going to have to rely on television cameras to give us that perspective that on every other ship in our fleet you have in a natural visual sense.
In Gothenburg, Sweden, 2 of the ship's architects are perfecting the model, which will be brought to the next meeting at the shipyard. Drawing is one thing, but to actually see the ship in 3 dimensions adds knowledge. Lars Ivdahl and his colleague Jan Åkerblad designed the open decks on the top of the ship, and they face difficulties.
I think where we still are struggling with the most difficult area is actually the solarium in the front area here. So we have a lot of studies to do in wind tunnels and so on to see that the wind is actually behaving as we want it to do, so not everything is blowing away in the forward part of the ship.
With no time to lose, Pekka Eivola and Nick Doherty visit a wind tunnel facility near Copenhagen, Denmark, to sort out the aerodynamic properties of the ship. Before building the upper decks in the yard, they must be convinced that the architect's proposed superstructure doesn't create problems. Using a model in the wind tunnel, they can simulate the environmental factors facing the ship. Very sensitive probes pinpoint the airflow on specific areas all over the upper decks, like here, a place for a future pool. The wind tunnel delivers all the wind speeds in which they need to test the ship's aerodynamics. Project leader Holger Koss makes sure the diesel gases from the funnel don't blow down on people enjoying themselves on upper decks.
I turn to 30 degrees. 10, 20, 30.
So far, so good.
Well, let's have a look at the solarium.
For the architects, the half-open solarium deck up front is a gamble, and they hope testing will prove them right. Can it really stay calm in spite of the open structure?
It's basically quite high above the ship. Looks good. Yeah?
The test confirms that the architects' hard work has paid off. Architects Jan and Lars arrive at the next meeting in Finland, confident that their design will hold. It's a crucial meeting. Major changes have been asked for, and everyone is eager to show what they have come up with.
It goes down like this.
So this is our terrace?
No. Since yesterday we have one.
When we initially heard that we would potentially be eliminating the lawns and the hills from Central Park, we went into a momentary period of shock.
Kevin Johnson and Kate Lockey from the UK had to come up with a new solution for the Central Park in no time.
Collectively, the whole team have had 8 weeks to change the scheme throughout the whole of this space.
To step back and to have a complete rethink is a difficult point at which you have to arrive at. To turn your back on something that you've worked with for so long is difficult.
That's the first time we've got this amount of natural light down into Royal Promenade. It looks absolutely superb, doesn't it?
Wow, it's really good.
What's it look like?
It's there's so much light that comes down in there. I'm very happy with what we see here. It's just a complete tapestry of events, and I think it's going to look stunning.
The sports deck also creates a lot of buzz at the meeting.
It's a new thing, actually. You zip yourself. This is a line, and you hook yourself. You slide down the wire here, and underneath you have 7 decks below. It's quite deep, actually. It's really a thrilling experience.
This is exciting.
I feel that this is just outstanding.
Our process is that we have to make so many of these decisions 2 years, 3 years before the ship delivers, and we better get them right. But when you see this, it's so wonderful, and it's so clearly well thought through that you feel comfortable in going ahead and cutting the steel.
When steel cutting starts, many details of the upper decks are still not agreed upon. It's still more than 2 years to delivery of the ship, but there's no time to lose to start the process of cutting the steel and assembling the pieces. From blueprint to reality, all the elements are laid out on the plate. The computerized system of plasma cutters work at such high temperatures that the cutting must be done underwater. The parts cut out are added to a total of 500,000 pieces needed to complete the building. Big or small, every piece must be numbered and marked to find its right place on board. At this stage in the yard, these blocks for the ship are merely empty shells. Before locking the design of the various staterooms, mock-ups are built to test designs, colors, and functions. Discussions intensify before they can all agree to move forward.
There should be a damper on that.
No, we wanted to
Or do
wrap.
you want this to come all the way?
We wanted to wrap the panel.
Interestingly enough, the only person trying out the stateroom lying down is Royal Caribbean CEO Richard Fain.
Well, if I was the only one to lay down the bed, it's because I'm the laziest in the group.
And he immediately spots a problem.
But the lights here, I just find the direct down lights a little bit commercial, a little bit ordinary. What do you think?
The luxury loft suites will become the novelty on the new ship. Nothing like this has ever been built on a cruise ship.
We had a lot of involvement ourselves in the loft suites and the designs of the loft suites, and it holds a soft space in my heart, and I love it a lot, and it really, I think, symbolizes some of the great things that we can do. We're particularly proud of this one because we designed this one with the in-house design department, so we feel pretty good. Pretty good.
In the shipyard, the workers don't need to wait for the architect's final design of suites and cabins. They continue to lift grand blocks into place, 4 decks at a time. The crane operator maneuvers with a steady hand as the blocks must be put in place with minute precision. It doesn't look like it fits. There's still a gap, but they will make it work once they know they have the exact position. The block stays hooked to the crane until it has been forced into the right place. This point on the block has an exact position in a virtual grid system that overlays the entire dry dock. Every block that is added on the ship must find its correct space inside this 3-dimensional system. The laser finds the exact point, and the acceptable margin of error is incredibly small.
Difference is now 10 millimeters. We are adjusting that 10 millimeters away. So maybe I allow 5 millimeters.
It sure is a delicate maneuver, and it's up to the crane operator to twist and turn the block into its final position. If this is work in slow motion, other parts of the project apply more speed and force. The world's largest lifeboat takes a prototype beating.
It should be operational, so I mean, it can have a slight crack or a minor damage, but you should still be able to operate the boat. That's the criteria.
As if the slamming into a wall was not enough, the prototype testing calls for an even more dramatic drop.
Obviously, we're hoping for the best. It's an extremely important test for us to make sure that the boat can handle the impact. Even though you may see a little bit of damage and some cracking and things like that, the boat is made to withstand that kind of thing and then still be seaworthy, still be able to take all the passengers and crew safely away from the ship.
It wasn't so dramatic.
You don't think so?
No. At least
I thought it was dramatic enough.
Yeah, well, it's something about hitting the water.
The world's largest lifeboat survives the beating and is ready for the ship.
Okay, here we are on deck 7, another cabin deck. You can see the balconies are already in place.
Captain Bill Wright and site manager Issa Mekele conclude the work has progressed fast.
But this view here is really an amazing one. This is looking down on the main theater, and it really gives you a sense of the size and the dimensions. That's right, yeah. Of course, this view, nobody will be able to experience this in a couple more weeks when the decks come on top, but right now it's really special.
Yeah.
Then further forward, you can see on 2 decks down, you can see the beginnings of what will be the crew dining room. And then beyond that, you'll have the 4 bow thrusters and eventually the bulbous bow.
Yeah.
I hope they measured correctly. Not going to be a lot of room left.
The secret has been kept under wraps for years, but for the shipyard workers, it's now clear a very special place is being built. The Central Park takes shape.
You have the...
Yeah, you can see the drawing here.
It's dramatic on paper, but in real life, it's just out of this world. So there's 3 more sections that are coming further aft, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
The ship now towers high above the dry dock, but there's still a lot more to be added. Today, a very special cargo is moved in the yard. It's time to lift the bow pieces in place. One of the upper decks contains Captain Bill Wright's future workplace. Lifted in place, the 2 parts make up one of the widest bridges ever built. The staterooms are built away from the shipyard and are brought in by the truckload. Thousands of prefabricated staterooms disappear into the ship's interior through temporary openings in the hull. As each stateroom comes fully equipped with all the ducts and wires in place, all that's needed is to hook them up and they are good to go. It's hard to believe that this place will soon be the center of the ship's operations. Right now, it's just a mess, a tangle of cables and connectors. The bridge is the ship's brain because all the functions are controlled from this place. Like nerves in the human body, more than 5,300 kilometers of cables are pulled from the very aft of the ship to the bridge, through all the decks, from top to bottom, and from almost every piece of machinery on board. The ship's propulsion units are electrical motors known as azipods, and they are true powerhouses. When Captain Bill Wright sees them mounted under the ship, he knows they spell power. It's clear this is another first in maritime history. The ship has 3 so-called azipods, no rudder and no regular propeller shaft.
Each one of these huge propellers can rotate 360 degrees, providing me as the captain and the ship handler with a remarkable level of precision in maneuvering the ship. These propellers are works of art in themselves, polished to a high degree to make sure that we're getting the absolute best efficiency out of them.
Unlike on most other ships, the propellers pull the ship forward when sailing, allowing an undisturbed flow of water to reach the blades first, thus increasing the propeller's capacity and the ship's fuel efficiency. It's time to put the crowning piece in place. The funnels are huge, and again, it's up to the crane operator to skillfully and carefully maneuver the piece into its pre-designed place. From this angle, it's hard to see that the funnel block includes one of the most important innovations on board the ship. And the inventors, Timo Lehtinen and Risto Rantanen, are sure their invention will work.
Laskelmat näyttää nyt sitten.
Strange thing, a retractable funnel or smokestack on a ship. They tried different ideas just to get under the Great Belt Bridge in Denmark, once. Yes, only once will this ship pass the bridge which is blocking her way, and it still warrants the multi-million-dollar investment.
Of course, we strongly believe that it works fine.
We don't need luck, we are so good designers.
Only the future will tell us if the inventors are right. If they are wrong, it could become a very costly mistake. It's time for float out. A few hours from now, the ship will finally be in its natural environment, floating on its own keel.
It's very exciting, and we feel a bit proud of it, of course, too. Being a nice day tomorrow and really seeing the water going into the ship's hull for the first time.
It's also the last chance for Bernd to inspect the bow thrusters without having to dive for it. There is more power in these bow thrusters than most other ships have for their main propulsion.
Seems to be good.
The float-out is always a festive moment. Even if the ship has not yet officially been christened and named, the hull now bears her name, Oasis of the Seas.
How long have we waited for this?
You know, these are memories for a lifetime. This is such a special day, such a special moment for me as captain, but also, you know, for the ship. She's going into her natural element right now.
Night falls before the ship finally floats on her own keel. But before they dare to open the dock's port, inspectors board the ship. Their task is to move into the lower decks and make sure everything is okay. Now is the time they will find the design flaws or the mistakes made in the development and building process. Commissioning manager Teemu Rein gets his report, and it sounds alarming. There are leaks.
Yeah, there was a couple of minor leaks in boarding walls, but not any big things. And now everything's okay, and we can continue to float out as planned.
With the leaks under control, the dock's port can be opened. The ship finally moves, but not under her own power. One tugboat is pulling, the other one aft is the breaker. At first, everything goes smoothly. Then suddenly, the side of the ship slams into the side of the dry dock. It's a bit of a scare, but nothing major. Just a need for a future paint job. Safely docked at the shipyard, a new phase in the building of the world's largest cruise ship starts. The ship will now be outfitted with all the details and functions which will meet the guests in about a year's time. Everyone is very excited, and what a few years ago were dreams, visions, models, and drawings are now taking shape. Kelly Gonzalez and the team of architects and executives can barely hide their excitement, in spite of the fact it will take a year to complete the outfitting.
Let's just enjoy it for a second.
Yeah, it's worth enjoying.
Even with the scaffolding, it's a wonderful height. Makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow! This is going to be the money shot.
So is this, so we have one mock-up inside here.
This is everything we had hoped for. This is really exciting to see it actually come together.
Like on no other ship, the aft is totally open to the ocean. It's hard at this stage to visualize what the experience will be in the Aqua Theater once it's completed, especially now when the temperature plummets below freezing.
I'm visualizing that I'm in the Caribbean right now and looking out over the Caribbean Sea, so I'm not cold at all.
My concern is that you can see through it to the air.
That's the thinking that but somewhere you need to have the support.
Oh yeah, one or two supports, but it's basically floating.
Far from the ship in Mansfield, Ohio in the USA, another part of the project takes shape, and a very surprising one.
They liked the idea that they were going to have a hand-carved wooden carousel.
oh, by the way, we can only have so many pounds of flammable material on it, and we're a wood carving company.
We're taking out the excess wood due to the fire load restrictions, so anything that isn't going to help hold the figure together or support weight has to come out.
It sounds very simple. We'll put a carousel on the ship. There's a lot more than meets the eye with trying to get this project to work on the ship.
Royal Caribbean's never built a carousel, and we've never built a ship.
Yes, I'm good.
We need to have the structural integrity in the carousel so we can actually handle the movements of the ship.
You know, the idea of actually running a carousel at 5 or 10 degrees is unheard of.
All right, well, it's definitely a different sight looking at this thing on 5 degrees.
I've never seen one run at an angle like that, but it's something that gives us a concept of whether the carousel itself can handle any movement and listing of the ship.
Oh yeah, no, this is going to be the worst you'll ever see, if this. The other challenge that you have with a structure like this is vibration, and that's why we do an extensive vibration and excitation tests to, in a nutshell, confirm that the vibrations that the ship is sending off are not going to harm the carousel. It's sitting on a steel deck, and steel transfers every little bit of noise.
I want you to make kind of a soft jump so that we excite all the parameters inside the rig. So
we're trying to put the vibration that this carousel by itself creates. And then we take these numbers back to Finland, and then we plug those into the model for the ship. And I'm very anxious to see how this is going to compare. So, one way or the other, this carousel will be running on Oasis. There's no question about that.
Back at the shipyard, work progresses quickly. All the basic steel constructions are in place, and activities of a different kind abound around the ship. The ship delivers in just 2 months, but she looks really unfinished. Will they make it in time? Work goes into high gear. So much to do and so little time to complete the building. Aft, the biggest pool on any ship will soon be filled with all sorts of water shows. That includes high diving from 17 meters. A scary stunt, and someone has to be the first to try. Royal Caribbean CEO Richard Fain fought hard for the carousel on board. His wish has now been fulfilled, but others see this as a bad omen.
Well, they used to say bringing horses or maidens on a ship was bad luck. Neither is true. This is good luck. And this is my good luck horse. You know, it's hard to imagine. From all the time we were talking about it, you know, when we discussed it as an idea, and now we're actually doing it, and I hate to admit it, this is fun.
On the sports deck, the much anticipated zip line is installed.
Just to beef up the safety aspect of the zip line on the ship, because it is a first, we went to a 1/2-inch stainless steel cable, which has an actual braking strength of about 20,000 pounds.
I'm adjusting the tension on the cable because I want to try it at a little bit, have a little more slack in the cable to change the speed and the landing speed.
Also had to upgrade to a lot of stainless steel equipment because of the marine environment.
We are going to put 5 of these bags, which are 50-kilo bags, I think, and we're putting them on the cable so that we can do a load test up to a certain percentage of our working load, just to make sure that the cable hasn't got any defects.
A mistake or problem at this stage would be a disaster for the zipline project. The 250-kilo test weight will tell them.
All right, guys, are you ready down on the boardwalk? Boardwalk clear? All right, boardwalk's clear. Okay, guys, whenever you're ready, got the thumbs up. Let's go.
Will it hold?
The next run, we're going to go ahead and set up probably for 2 sandbags, which will simulate the average human weight, and let it run, see how it moves a little faster along the line. And after that, we'll be ready for humans to go ahead and give it a run.
It's the first manned try, and we're adjusting the cable tension, so we don't know if it's set right yet, but we'll see.
You can see and understand how high you really are, plus it's an absolute sheer drop when you step off.
Woo, it's a long way down. Yeah.
For Kelly Gonzalez, this is a very rewarding time. She can finally see all her visions come together in the ship.
I think I'm speaking for everybody when I say we're flying on cloud 9 right now, because this has been almost 6 years of long, hard work, and so everything that we've envisioned is really falling into place and, in many cases, exceeding our expectations.
The crew arrives a few months before departure. They have lots to do to get the Oasis into ship shape.
Beautiful, beautiful. The biggest ship in the planet.
Part of the preparation means testing all the safety systems on board. Everyone has a role to play in making this the safest ship on the oceans. In the unlikely event something would happen, the cruising guests will use the gigantic rescue vessels. Unlike on other ships, rescue vessels are stored in a ready-to-launch position straight above the water. The life rafts are the second half of the evacuation system and will be used by the crew. Crew members must come down the chute, and this is an experience they will not forget in a hurry.
I'm stuck!
He's stuck in the chute.
I got stuck. You really have to push it. Yeah.
Soon, everyone gets the hang of it, and the exercise works smoothly.
Oh, nice.
The day has finally come. Richard Fain is signing the check and is parting with $1.4 billion, the cost of the ship.
I'd rather just look at it.
No wonder he's shaking. Royal Caribbean is gambling big on their new ship.
Does that mean we can leave and take our ship?
In this instance, the ship belongs to Royal Caribbean.
Well, I'm now the master of the Oasis of the Seas, the grandest ship I think the world has ever seen, and that's a remarkable feeling, a remarkable feeling.
There's no time to lose. Captain Bill Wright has installed his bridge crew, and they're ready to start their journey to the home port in Florida. Young or old sailor, no one in the crew has ever navigated a ship this size. That fact doesn't scare Officer Clayton Van Welter.
It's an extremely large ship, and when you get up onto the bridge, you're surrounded by all this technology and all that, but you got to remember how much is behind these walls. But when you're concentrating on the navigation and everything like that, it comes down to the information presented to you.
First order of business is to bring Oasis of the Seas under one of the world's longest bridges. To be on the safe side, Captain Bill elects to have the retractable funnels lowered well ahead of the bridge passing. Making this passing in the daytime is one thing. To attempt it in the middle of the night adds suspense. For the more than 3,000 crew members and guests on board, this is an exciting moment. Even if the Danish pilot on board has sanctioned the passing, the authorities elect to stop all car and rail traffic on the bridge.
Well, the interesting thing is the air draft of the Oasis, the height of the ship above the water, is 72 meters. The clearance of the Great Bell Bridge, 65 meters. We're going to be going under the bridge at 20 knots. And because the bottom is only going to be about 20 meters under the keel, you create basically a vacuum which pulls the ship down. So we're going to get about 30 centimeters more deep in the water because of this hydrodynamic effect called squat.
To the naked eye, the margin looks frightfully small. With only decimeters to spare, the Oasis of the Seas passes the Great Belt Bridge. On November 13, 2009, Oasis of the Seas arrives at Fort Lauderdale in Florida. The maiden voyage, with all its challenges, has taken her from Finland to her home port of Port Everglades, and she gets a warm welcome.
It's amazing. The weather could not be better. I mean, this is one of the best days I've seen in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm from Fort Lauderdale for a long, long time. And we have all of our crew up on deck with flags, and we can hear them here on the bridge. So we couldn't ask for a better day for bringing the Oasis of the Seas to her home port.
Dwarfing the buildings along the canal, she makes a resounding impression on the thousands of people greeting her. Only a few weeks after arriving at home port in Florida, Oasis of the Seas sails with her first guests on board. Suddenly, the Royal Promenade comes alive with guests enjoying the shops and restaurants. The architect's dreams have become reality. And for Captain Bill, life on board turns into a routine.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Captain Bill from the bridge on Sunday, January 10th, 2010 at 10 minutes after noon.
Even if the number of people on board seems shockingly high to some people, all the amenities and areas quickly swallow the crowds. And everyone enjoys the rides.
Everyone enjoy the boardwalk. Save the waves.
The solarium is a success. The wind tunnel test helped shape the area so it's airy and open, but still not windy. As if all the activities in the daytime weren't enough, the evenings offer plenty of entertainment. For Captain Bill, the job as the master of the Oasis of the Seas also includes the festivities of the Captain's Night. If there's entertainment and relaxing downtime for the guests, the situation is much different in the galley, the ship's main kitchen. Executive Chef Johan Petuchnik, with a history as a chef at the Royal Court of Norway, assembles the other chefs to taste today's menu.
1 hour before we open the dining room, all the chefs come here together. We have the entire menu prepared. We bring it over here, so we make a tasting panel. That means we're going over all the food, we check the food, we taste the food, we look at the presentation, so that we can ensure that everything what goes out in the dining room tonight is first class and there's no mistakes at all. Okay, let's go then.
The stress is building minutes before dinner is served. Once the guests have arrived for the first seating, everything kicks into top gear. Before the evening's over, the galley will have served 24,000 plates with food. The main dining room's actually one of the biggest restaurants in the world, and definitely the biggest on board any ship. Still, it's only one of 24 restaurants on board. As evening falls, Central Park becomes the oasis on board that everyone envisioned for so many years. On his way to the captain's table in the restaurant, Captain Bill enjoys a stroll in the park with his wife. He surely remembers the heated discussions a few years back when the original design was presented. A grassy knoll could have been fun too, but no doubt this is much better. For everybody who's been involved in the project for so many years, the successful completion of a truly complicated construction has left many positive memories.
To see what we have created here, this is an amazing achievement for mankind. So I'm the luckiest guy on the planet being in command of this amazing ship.
Oasis of the Seas claims the title, the world's largest cruise ship. Surpassing the nearest rivals by a wide margin, she will most likely keep the crown for many, many years to come. She's a mega structure of the seas, and some people say a larger cruise ship will never be built.